The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like callus. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman.
What's up? Welcome into the latest edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or for free on the iHeartRadio app, you're listening or watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a 5-star review. Tell me why you love me. Tell me why you hate me, but be careful. My ego is very fragile. I'm one of those people I cannot take criticism for the life of me. You know, I call this, it's a little bit of a tangent. I call this the Ben Garcia Show, but in IRL, real life, when I'm talking with people, I actually go by Benjamin. So I don't really like the name Ben, but it fits better. The Benjamin Garcia Show, the Ben Garcia Show. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Do you think I made the right decision? Do you think I made the right decision cutting ties with Benjamin in looks over for Ben and named it the Ben Garcia Show? Thrilled to be a part with you guys today. It's going to be an awesome, jam-packed show. Frank Reich is fired. I have some thoughts on that, just like last year when I had thoughts on Matt Rule being fired. We're going to talk some Patrick Mahomes, little MVP race, and Josh Allen being scapegoated, being thrown under the bus by people who I'm pretty sure just don't watch football. All of that we will cover, but before we get into any of that, I want to lead with this podcast, this episode's top story. I am seen as a big critic of Dak Prescott, and I know for Cowboys fans, it can be a little nauseating. I did not want to talk Dak Prescott on today's show. I didn't want to talk about the Cowboys, mainly because, one, they played the Commanders. I'm not impressed. Congrats on rolling the Commanders. That's what you're supposed to do. So I'm not disappointed. I'm not impressed. I'm just indifferent. That's what you're supposed to do. Bland, although Deron Bland, that was really cool. Setting the pick six record. Even I was like, dang, that is pretty cool as being seen as a Cowboy hater by the fanboys on social media. I didn't want to talk Dak Prescott. But there's this just nauseating narrative that Dak Prescott is not only a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, better in every which way, maybe not mobility. I'm sure even Cowboys fans would give that up. But there's this weird, really strange narrative that he's outplaying Jalen Hurts this year. And yes, if you're a fanboy of the Dallas Cowboys, it is so easy to look at the stats and say, oh, Dak Prescott, he's killing it this year. Dak Prescott, he is the best quarterback in the NFL. He deserves to be the MVP. Why do I have to be the person that continues to pull on the Dak Prescott narrative that he's not an elite quarterback, he's not a top 5 quarterback, and this year alone, if we're just talking about this year, it's probably into the 6 to 8 range, which is probably the highest I've ever had Dak Prescott, because I'm a Dak Prescott truther. I'm not a fanboy. I don't fantasize over ifs and buts with Dak Prescott because it never comes to fruition. This is a guy who got his second playoff win 7 seasons in last season against the Buccaneers team that was not good. It's one of the worst playoff teams we've had in a long time. Old man Brady, someone had to get in the NFC South, but he did go on the road. He did beat them. And then he went and played a team that was really good and got smacked through 2 crucial interceptions against the San Francisco 49ers, which has been my biggest critic of Dak Prescott. In the biggest moments, when he is needed the most, he does not come through for you. He is not a quarterback, and I'm just stating facts. He is not a quarterback that can win multiple playoff games in the same year. It has not come to fruition. Maybe it happens this year. I highly doubt it. Dak Prescott has been awesome this year. Dak Prescott has been the best version of Dak Prescott I have ever seen. And it's because, and this is okay, He's got a great defense. They are helping him get on the board. They are pinning their ears back and getting to the quarterback, making life just incredibly difficult on quarterbacks like Tommy DeVito and Mac Jones. And with that being said, let me read off some of the quarterbacks Dak Prescott and the Cowboys have beaten this year. This is every single quarterback. Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, Josh Dobbs, which they lost to, Mac Jones, Brock Purdy, they lost, Justin Herbert, solid win, Matthew Stafford, who was clearly past his prime and got injured in that game, Jalen Hurts, they lost, Tommy DeVito, Bryce Young, Sam Howell, and this week they get, wait for it, drum roll, Geno Smith this week. Color me not impressed. I'm sorry, Cowboy fans. I'm just not impressed. Have not beaten a team with a winning record. Has not really shown a signature win this year. Outplayed by Josh Dobbs at one point this season. Josh Dobbs. So excuse me if I think Jalen Hurts has been more impressive. This league is not about beating the brakes off of Tommy DeVito and Bryce Young. Congratulations on doing so. That's what you're supposed to do. This league, and everyone likes to point to Jalen Hurts, only had 33 passing yards going into the third quarter. Okay? Bills are a good team. The record doesn't say everything with the Buffalo Bills. We'll get to them later in the show. It'll show you just how close the Buffalo Bills are from being 6-6 to 7-3. That's how good, or I'm sorry, that's how bad the Bills have been situationally. Speaking of situationally, you know what this league is based upon? The thing that I've been the biggest critic of Dak Prescott of? While trailing, Jalen Hurts, when trailing in the second half or in overtime this year, has 10 touchdowns, 0 picks, 68 completion percentage, and a 138.6 passer rating. This league has always been about what do you do, how good are you when the defense knows you have to pass and you need a score to win this game. Because I can tell you how good Dak Prescott has been in the past, and I can tell you how good Jalen Hurts has been. Jalen Hurts borderline outplayed Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts matched the amount of playoff wins in one playoff appearance last season that Dak Prescott has had in his entire career. In 2 playoff appearances, Jalen Hurts, in 2 separate seasons, has the same amount of wins as Dak Prescott in his numerous times in the playoffs. So, I'm a little bit more impressed with Jalen Hurts. Sorry. Some of the last few quarterbacks Dak Prescott has played has been Jalen Hurts, they lost, Tommy DeVito, Bryce Young, and Sam Howell. He's 3-1. Do you know which team he lost to? I don't care how well he played. They lost. It wasn't on Dak Prescott, but he didn't win the game either. Want to know the last few quarterbacks that Jalen Hurts has played? Okay, let's read them to you. Tua Tagovailoa, Zach Wilson, they lost. Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. They're 3-1. Yes, Jalen Hurts lost to Zach Wilson. It happens. Brilliant, great, excellent players have stinkers sometimes. Jalen Hurts just happens to be once a year. So yes, if I'm painting a hierarchy of players this year, I'm more impressed with the guy who has beaten Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Tua Tagovailoa. Maybe not so much Tua Tagovailoa, but Tua is still a better quarterback than maybe all the quarterbacks Dak Prescott has played this year. And beaten, I might add. Jalen Hurts was never outplayed by Josh Dobbs this year. Dak Prescott was. So I'm sorry if Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' offense isn't conventional. But when it's time to win, when the defense knows in the hardest part of the game, when they know that you need to pass, when you need to score, 10 touchdowns, 0 picks, 68 completion percentage, 138 passer rating in the second half or an OT when trailing this year. And don't blame the tush push on the Philadelphia Eagles. If the tush push was so easy, if his stats are so inflated by a quarterback sneak. Why doesn't every team do it? Justin Herbert tried to do it earlier in the year. He failed. Patrick Mahomes used to quarterback sneak until he tore up his knee, dislocated his kneecap. They don't do it anymore. Jalen Hurts makes it look easy. Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Don't look at Jalen Hurts and say, the tush push, he's being carried by that play. There's a reason why people want it banned. They want it banned because he's the best in the league at it, because he's also the only player in the league that makes it look easy. It's an unstoppable play. If a team gets to the 1-yard line, the Philadelphia Eagles, it's a touchdown. In a game of inches, the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts are just better. They're better than Dak Prescott. I'm sorry that I'm more impressed with wins against Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, and Patrick Mahomes than I am against players and teams like Tommy DeVito, Bryce Young, Sam Howell, and this week Geno Smith, who they're going to roll. Sorry, I'm not as impressed with it. Dak Prescott has been good this year. He's been the best Dak Prescott I've ever seen. Jalen Hurts is better. I don't care about the stats. Read more into the players and teams that they play. It's more impressive, it's been more valuable, and there's a reason they want things like the tush push banned. Because it's a hard play that Jalen Hurts executes better than anyone else. And if he didn't, if it was so easy, why don't other teams do it? Why don't other teams do the tush push? It's been implemented by some teams this year. It has not been done as well as the Philadelphia Eagles. It has not been done as well as Jalen Hurts because he makes the hard look easy. And that's why right now, and probably for the foreseeable future, Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the NFC East. And I'm not sure how particularly close it is until I see Dak Prescott do it in the playoffs like I've already seen Jalen Hurts do. Let's talk about something that I think is mostly just vanity to me. I know fans really love the MVP award. I can go either way on it. If we're going to give out awards, though, I want them to go to the correct player, person, whatever. So let's talk about the MVP. This is how I would submit my ballot if I had one for the most valuable player award. Number 5, Christian McCaffrey. It's not unprecedented. We have had a running back winner before, Adrian Peterson, back in the day in 2012, I believe. Number 4, Dak Prescott would get 4th place for me. He's been objectively awesome this year stats-wise. Hasn't really played anyone, and he's shrunk in some of the biggest moments. We saw it against Cardinals. We saw it against 49ers. 3, C.J. Stroud, a literal life preserver for the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud is number 3. Number 2, Jalen Hurts, just for what he's done when his back is against the wall. That just goes a long way with me. We just talked about it. Jalen Hurts, when he is trailing in the second half or in overtime of games, 10 touchdowns, 0 picks, 68 completion percentage, 138.6 passer rating. When the lights are brightest, Jalen Hurts is awesome. And number 1, my MVP right now, Patrick Mahomes. What does most valuable player mean to you? Is it statistics? Because we have that award. It's OPOY, Offensive Player of the Year. If you are someone who has awesome stats, you get that award normally. You get the Offensive Player of the Year award. That's a statistical award, right? There's nothing about value there. Now, if we're giving this award to the player with the best stats, then sure, yeah. Give the award to Dak Prescott. Reward him for being valuable, for beating Tommy DeVito, Mac Jones, and Zach Wilson a bunch of times. That's awesome. You can do that. I believe in valuable as in what would your team be if you weren't there? If Patrick Mahomes was not on this Chiefs team, it would not only not be a playoff team, it'd be a bottom 5 team in the NFL. It's got a great defense, but no quarterback if Patrick Mahomes is there, and a really bad quarterback at that. Who's a team that's comparable to that? I know off the top of my head, the New York Jets, really good defense. DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner, CJ Mosley, Quinnen Williams, numerous players on that team. Ashton Davis, I think, is still on that team. No quarterback. Not going to be in the playoffs. Going to be a top 10 draft pick team because they have no one orchestrating that offense. You look at Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, look at his offense. Travis Kelce does not look the same. Travis Kelce looks a little bit older. His game, Travis Kelce's that is very reliant on athleticism, juking guys out of their way, and crisp route running and elite chemistry with Patrick Mahomes. The athleticism for Travis Kelce hasn't been peak Travis Kelce, and that's okay. Travis Kelce's like 34 years old, if I'm not mistaken. Look at his wide receivers. Rashid Rice, a nice piece, probably a year out, probably a wide receiver too. Kadarius Toney has stone hands. I don't know why Sky Moore is still in the NFL. He is not good. We thought he was going to be a little bit more of a deep threat wide receiver, a possession guy. He's not good. Sky Moore has not shown a lot. And then Mecole Hardman, a gadget guy who failed in New York. They brought him back to the Chiefs strictly because he knows the system. He's a fast guy, and who knows what he could do when he has a little bit of space. But that's it. Isaiah Pacheco's a good running back, but is he a consensus top 8 running back in the NFL? Maybe top 10? I mean, I don't think so. The offensive line is one of the most penalized offensive lines in false starts. We saw Jawan Taylor get 1 million of them at the beginning of the year. This is a Patrick Mahomes or bust offense. He is making it happen with lawn deck chairs and players who will probably be real estate agents in a couple of years. The only player that does more with less is Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes is right up there with Tom Brady. Remember when Tom Brady was slinging it to guys like Chris Hogan, Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman only ever worked in New England. Granted, most of his time was in New England, if not all of it. But Brady made a lot with nothing. I mean, he had not a lot of pieces. Patrick Mahomes doesn't either. Patrick Mahomes makes chicken soup out of chicken blank. Chicken crap, but this is a family-friendly show. Patrick Mahomes continues to make wine out of water. He has been a miraculous quarterback this season and has willed his team to the record that they have. The only game that you could burn the tape on was the Denver Broncos game, which Patrick Mahomes was sick. Everyone has one. Everyone has a stinker. We mentioned it with Jalen Hurts. People will say, well, it's not his best season. Don't come up to me and say, well, Patrick Mahomes' statistical year, it's down for Patrick Mahomes. That's like getting mad at Stephen Curry because his three-point percentage is down 1.5 points because that's bad for Stephen Curry. Patrick Mahomes still 3,000 passing yards, roughly 20 touchdowns, 9 picks, a 96 passer rating. He doesn't have the best stats, but he's rolling it out there with Travis Kelce, who does not look as athletic this year, has been hobbled numerous times, and does not look like peak Travis Kelce self. Sky Moore, again, not sure why he's still in the NFL. Mecole Hardman, a gadget guy that failed in New York. Kadarius Toney has stone hands, and Rashid Rice is nice, but it's probably going to take another year for him. No one in the history has continued to take more with less. And that's what valuable is to me. Most valuable player to me is, if you take that guy off, what are they? Down 14-0 to the Raiders, who have been playing well under Antonio Pierce, a new rejuvenated Raiders team. 14-0, no big deal. Just win with guys who are wide receiver 2s and 3s. They don't have a number 1 wide receiver. Josh Allen's got Diggs. Jalen Hurts got A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Dak Prescott's got CeeDee Lamb. What does Patrick Mahomes have? Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Patrick Mahomes has Travis Kelce. Sure. 34-year-old, tight end, not a burner, probably past his prime Travis Kelce. That's valuable to me. The Eagles game showed that to me. Patrick Mahomes continues to put players in places to succeed, and they let him down. Patrick Mahomes doesn't let this team down. Mahomes is your MVP, and it's not a huge gap between him and number 2, and who that would be, Jalen Hurts. But it's impossible to neglect what he has done with guys who would not be on NFL rosters. Sky Moore's not getting picked up by an NFL team. Mecole Hardman already got dropped by the Jets the second he walked out of Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes is your MVP. He has done a ton with less, and he's going to will this team into the playoffs. And honestly, although I don't believe in the Chiefs, I don't think they'll get to the Super Bowl. I just think they're asking Patrick Mahomes to do too much. I think they're too Patrick Mahomes dependent. But if they made it to the Super Bowl, would you be surprised? I mean, he already won a Super Bowl with Juju Smith-Schuster as his best wide receiver. Would it surprise you if he beat Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, who Lamar's got Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham Jr., and maybe Mark Andrews later on in the year if they get it that far? Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk. Would you be surprised if Patrick Mahomes walks in there and beats both those teams? Because I wouldn't be. I'm not going to pick him to do it, but I wouldn't be, and that's valuable. Patrick Mahomes is the most valuable player in the NFL. Maybe they won't give it to him. Maybe it's that LeBron fatigue that we had for years in the NBA, but he absolutely deserves it. I'm not joking when I say that barring something insanity to happen, this will be the only time I talk about the Carolina Panthers. This will be the only time I talk about Bryce Young, but there was some breaking news out in the NFL today, and people always ask me, they'll always say, you know what, Ben, I don't get it. Why do you only talk Cowboys? Why do you only talk Eagles? Why do you only talk Niners? Because those are the teams people care about. I'm not going to talk about I'm an Arizona Cardinals fan. I'm not going to talk a ton about the Arizona Cardinals because outside of Phoenix, I might be the only fan. It's just what it is. So I talk Cowboys. I talk Lakers. I talk Phoenix Suns. They got a lot of stars. I talk big brands. I don't want to talk about the Carolina Panthers because this will probably be my lowest rated segment, but it's something that needs to be talked about. Dave Tepper is now firing his third head coach. He'll be on his fourth head coach soon. Ron Rivera is seen upon as many as a rock-solid head coach and has made a Super Bowl. Frank Reich was instrumental to that 2017 Philadelphia Eagles championship team. He was the guy that helped Nick Foles, just orchestrate the best Nick Foles has ever been. And Matt Rule, a guy I defended last year. I said, you're gonna fire Matt Rule? Listen, I get it. Maybe Matt Rule wasn't very good. I don't watch a ton of Carolina Panthers football. This team owns my organization. I have bad memories of the Carolina Panthers. 2015 NFC Conference Championship game completely dismantled my Arizona Cardinals. So I'm going to be the first one to concede. I don't watch a ton of Carolina Panthers football. Frank Reich could have been a disaster. I'm just going to state the obvious, though. And I took a lot of backlash on Twitter because I said, maybe Matt Rule isn't the complete problem. And what looks to be Matt Rule wasn't the complete problem for the Carolina Panthers. He was pointed as a buffoon. And I said, dude, have you seen who he's got at quarterback? Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, P.J. Walker. Bill Belichick couldn't win with those quarterbacks in his prime. Andy Reid could not win with those quarterbacks in his prime. We saw Andy Reid go to the playoffs with Alex Smith. He wasn't getting there with the quarterbacks that Matt Rule had. I took so much heat for that. You don't know what you're talking about. The play calling sucks. He is not good at the podium. He's bad here. I was like, okay, Matt Rule's probably not an NFL caliber coach. It's fine. But you're blaming him? And now I have the same exact take with Frank Reich. You're blaming Frank Reich? I don't care if Frank Reich walked into the GM's office and said, I want Bryce Young, get me Bryce Young yesterday. Although I was the only person, humble brag, that said, well, probably not the only person, but I was one of the minority that said, hey, CJ Stroud is big, tall, fast, and has a huge arm. He probably just needs to be a little bit refined. Don't worry about the Wonderlic score. It's mostly dumb in 2023. He is a elite quarterback just waiting to happen. And unlike the fanboys that are the NFL, everyone was like, we're staying away from him because he goes to that college where quarterbacks don't succeed, which is the dumbest thing. There's literal no statistical knowledge to back it up. It's just grasping at straws. So I said, CJ Stroud is awesome. Go get CJ Stroud. And of course, they didn't listen to me because why would you listen to the guy in his mother's basement? I'm not actually in my mother's basement, guys. Someone made a joke about that on YouTube, and I thought it was funny because I find it funny when people make fun of me. I just think it's hilarious. Anyways, fire not Frank Reich. Again, I don't care if he walked into the office of the GM and said, get me Bryce Young. That's the GM's job. The GM is the one that traded away your best offensive piece left because Christian McCaffrey wasn't there anymore, multiple picks for Bryce Young. Sub 6 foot, tiny arm. There was no special in college, mostly playing with a bunch of NFL first round picks at Bama. Bryce Young. I was scratching my head at the time. Frank Reich can absolutely coach. Maybe he's an OC. That's fine. Maybe he's not a head coach, but he can coach. So shifting the blame on him is just insanity. Do you know what the personnel is for the Carolina Panthers offense? The offensive line is probably the worst in the NFL. I will say it is the worst in the NFL. Tight ends, they got Hayden Hurst out there, who's on his fourth team now? Wide receivers, their best wide receiver is old man Adam Thielen, that when he was succeeding in his prime was a wide receiver too. Who else do they have? I couldn't even name you the other wide receivers they have. I'll tell you what, they drop a lot of passes. And then Bryce Young. Sub 6 foot, nothing special, tiny arm. Bryce Young, the guy that looks smaller than Kyler Murray on the field. There is no special with Bryce Young. You can't have a sub 6 foot guy out there that has no special. With Kyler Murray, he might be the most athletic dude on the field and the fastest dude on the field, and he's got a bigger arm than you know of. Kyler Murray may work in the NFL. I think he will, but because there's special there. There's no special with Bryce Young. Just zero. So to blame Frank Reich, even if he was calling the same boneheaded plays, Andy Reid is not winning more than 4 games with this personnel. Adam Thielen, who was let go by the Vikings. Hayden Hurst, who's on his 4th team, if I'm not mistaken. Chuba Hubbard, a guy who has not really panned out as an NFL running back. Miles Sanders, who mostly benefited from the Eagles' offensive line last year. The offensive line of the Carolina Panthers, that's the worst in the NFL, and you're blaming Frank Reich? The Panthers are a real-life tire fire. No one is going to want to go coach that team, and I mean no one as in no up-and-coming young head coaches are going to want to go there. Because you have a temperamental owner, a quarterback that you are strapped to. You cannot let go of Bryce Young right now. You have to stick with him at least for another season. And you think that's an attractive job? Dude, Frank Reich is better than the alternative. I don't know who's coming in through that door, but it's not Ben Johnson. We saw Adam Schefter today talk on the Pat McAfee show. He said, yeah, there's going to be like 7 to 10 firings in the NFL this year. Rank the Panthers. Not a lot of picks. You traded those away. Best offensive player gone. No stars, no Pro Bowlers on that offensive line. No Pro Bowlers on that offense in general. You think you're going to attract a good candidate better than Frank Reich? Continuity matters in the NFL. And when you go from Ron Rivera to Matt Rule to now Frank Reich to whoever it is, that's all in the span since 2019. It's only been 4 years. How are you going to build a winning culture if you're pulling the plug on everyone? You will not attract a sexy, good candidate, a candidate that will help lead your team and build a culture better than Frank Reich. You just won't. I don't care how bad Frank Reich has been. I don't watch the Carolina Panthers. I'll full on say I haven't watched a ton of Carolina Panthers. You could get Andy Reid. You're not winning 5 games with this offense. You're not winning 5 games of Bryce Young until you put some pieces around him. Because this is bad. This is a dysfunctional organization. And the Panthers better take a hard look in the mirror and stop blaming head coaches. Dave Tepper. Want to make sure I'm saying his name right. Have it right here. We actually do prep on the show. I know, crazy, right? Dave Tepper. Look at me. Making things up as I go. This is more on the general manager of anything. You're going to blame anyone. Blame Scott Fitterer. The dummy who traded multiple picks in their best offensive piece for a sub-6 foot quarterback with no special. Stop blaming offensive coaches. Stop blaming head coaches. Stop blaming Matt Rule. Stop blaming Ron Rivera. Stop blaming Frank Reich. No one's winning with this roster. And until you develop a culture and give a coach a chance to change and turn your team around, you will never attract free agents. You're already a not free agent destination. This ain't going to help. Ben Johnson ain't walking through that door. He's not taking this tire fire of a job. He can pick whatever job he wants. And he'd rather go with the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert than your tire fire of an organization. Stop blaming head coaches. Look in the mirror. Establish a culture. Establish an organization that is not such an embarrassment to everyone. Carolina Panthers have severe problems, and I'm not blaming or putting all the blame on Frank Reich, Matt Rule, or Ron Rivera. There's much deeper issues here. You know, I never thought the day would come where I felt bad for a professional athlete who gets paid millions of dollars, gets paid millions of dollars to play a game, to live out his dream. I never thought I'd feel bad for an athlete genuinely, but I feel bad for Josh Allen. Josh Allen has been a quarterback throughout his entire career, has continuously had to beat the odds. Remember the stories out in Wyoming where he basically had to beg for a scholarship somewhere until he finally got one. Then he goes over, finally gets one, gets drafted, was seen as a project, not a prospect, gets drafted by the Bills, had bad mechanics, consistently fight his way to the top. Josh Allen has pulled his weight in the NFL. That is something that I don't worry about at all. He's never been given anything. In fact, let's talk about that. I feel bad for Josh Allen. Imagine being a top 3 quarterback in the NFL and not looked upon as one because of your team's lack of stability, lack of inconsistency, and lack of ability to put players around him. Josh Allen has been given one weapon in his numerous years as a player on the Buffalo Bills. You know what he's been given? Stephon Diggs. Let's look at his running backs. James Cook, Damian Harris, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss. Never been given a real number 1 top 5 run. I was slamming the table earlier in the year and said, this is the Bills' last chance to win. The Super Bowl window is closing. Go get Jonathan Taylor. They said, we're good. We're good. We don't really want Jonathan Taylor. We're just going to have Josh Allen save us. Gabe Davis is a bad number 2 wide receiver and wasn't on the same page with Allen on Sunday. Otherwise, they would have won. The offensive line has never even been average for Josh Allen. It's always been bad. He's never had a stable running game. His wide receivers, not good. Dawson Knox has been out, inconsistent, up and down. Dalton Kincaid, the jury is still out on him. You have to give him leeway, some leash. He's a young rookie. Stephon Diggs, the only reliable weapon who consistently stabs him in the back emotionally. Josh Allen loves that dude publicly. Stephon Diggs lets his brother go on Twitter and tell him how much he was bad without him. Like, really? That's what Josh Allen has been dealt. He has had an awesome OC. However, that was the worst kept secret in the NFL. Brian Dable, he was taken over to the Giants. Let me just paint you this picture. Josh Allen has scored a go-ahead touchdown with less than 2 minutes to go against the Pats, Broncos, and Eagles. Each game, they lost 0-3 because of their defense possessing no ability to stop even bad offenses. I'm looking at you, Mac Jones, from scoring. People should look at Justin Herbert the way they look at Josh Allen. Justin Herbert blew a 27-point lead in the playoffs, has been given weapons, although they can't stay healthy. At least he has a running game in Austin Eckler. Josh Allen's never even had that. Is that a better offensive line? Rashawn Slater, Corey Linsley, those are both better offensive linemen that Josh Allen has ever had. So he throws an interception sometimes. That's just who Josh Allen is. He's a gunslinger. 24 touchdowns, 13 picks, 3,200 yards passing with a passer rating of 95. It's a little bit of the Patrick Mahomes thing. Who does he have? Dalton Kincaid's good. He's a rookie. Stephon Diggs is really good. What else? James Cook, who couldn't beat out whoever the running back was last year. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. Dawson Knox. Okay. Never had a good offensive line. And now his defense, that used to be really good in years prior, lost Matt Milano, lost Tre'Davious White, and now they're letting him down. Josh Allen has been a life preserver for this dysfunctional Bills organization that has failed to put players around Josh Allen. This is a Buffalo Bills issue. This is not a Josh Allen issue. As much as you want to point and laugh about Josh Allen, if they win all 3 of those games in which Josh Allen scored a go-ahead touchdown with 2 minutes to go, instead of looking at a Bills team that's 500 right now, we're looking at a Bills team that is probably 7-3, 7-2, 7-4, whatever the math would be, instead of looking at a 6-6 Bills team, what are they, 9-3? 9-3 is what the Bills would be. And if they won all three of those games in which the defense needed to do its job and didn't, in which Josh Allen, again, 3 touchdowns, all with 2 minutes to go, had the lead, gave it to their defense, and they squandered it each and every time. If those games go from 0-3 to 3-0, or even just 2-1, you're looking at Josh Allen as an MVP candidate. Because that offense is Stugatz. It is bad. Sean McDermott, sure, he's probably good at building a culture. He's probably a good head coach. He's not an offensive-minded head coach. He's not Andy Reid. He's not Zach Taylor. He's not Mike McCarthy. He's at least an offensive-minded guy. He's not anything else. Josh Allen is not supported on the Buffalo Bills at all. The reason why I give Patrick Mahomes the MVP and not Josh Allen is because Patrick Mahomes is obviously better in turbulence, obviously better when his back is against the wall, and he has to carry the team. Josh Allen, no regret, nothing bad on him for not being able to carry James Cook, Dalton Kincaid, and a bunch of nobodies like Gabe Davis on his team. It's not on him. It's not an indictment. It's on the Buffalo Bills for squandering his rookie deal, not putting more players around him, and people pointing and laughing at him because the Buffalo Bills are 6-6. They're lucky to be 6-6. Without Josh Allen, they'd be 0-12, 0-11, whenever their bye week was. The Bills have ruined Josh Allen's prime cheap contract years. He obviously can get better as a player. And the Bills' shortcomings are on everyone else outside of Josh Allen. He's been a life preserver for this team. I'll continue to stand on the hill. Josh Allen's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. You can bail on him. I'm not going to. I've seen the tape. He has been a life preserver for this Buffalo Bills team. He's not the problem. He's the solution. I promise you, you line up Josh Allen to be traded, 30 other teams who don't have Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes are lining up to trade everything for him. Josh Allen is awesome. A little inconsistent at times. He's a gunslinger, throws a little too many picks for my liking, but that's who he is. He is the solution in Buffalo. Everyone else is the problem. Thank you so much again for tuning in to the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, for free on the iHeartRadio app, or you're watching me yell at a microphone in an empty room by myself on YouTube. Thank you. 500 subscribers on YouTube. We had an awesome week on social media. Again, you guys interacting with me, calling me a genius, calling me dumb. All of it is welcome. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Maybe, I don't know, DM me. I like interacting with you guys. I'll talk with you guys. I absolutely love everyone who supports the pod, supports myself. It has been awesome. Pretty soon, there's some cool things in the works. Maybe we're not in this studio anymore. Maybe you'll come with me to my house. That sounds weird. It'll make sense later on. Thank you so much for tuning into the Ben Garcia Show. We'll have another jam-packed show for you guys next week. But until next week, it's been the Ben Garcia Show.